Hey y'all, it's your girl Trish.
And it's your boy Chico.
You came across
Bend Don't Break, the podcast where we talk about topics that can either bend or break your relationship
from an individual perspective while being happily married to each other.
On some days,
Oh really?
it was a joke. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, and welcome to our very first episode of Bend Don't Break. And this episode is being recorded in 2023, the New Year's. Happy New Year, y'all!
It's the first of the year, and we wanted to start off the year right by introducing y'all to a new podcast.
So this podcast is geared towards, us just talking about like different topics and different things that we go through in relationships and just like as individuals, like, because he's one person and I'm one person. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Trish, and I will be co-hosted by my lovely husband,
Chico. So we just hope that either our perspectives can help somebody else out in their relationship, or it can just point you in the right direction so you can know, what you need to do for your particular relationship.
Yeah. So I thought it was only right that we share our love story, share how we got here with you guys. So do you want to tell them the version on how we met? Because we both have two different versions.
Well, I feel like we have two different versions. I mean, some of it is similar, but some of it, I feel like we have different details. So my version, I want to start off by saying, what's the first time we actually encountered each other?
I would say in high school. So what I remember is when we were in high school, I was cussing out my best friend at the time because he didn't want to pay the phone bill. And I needed to breathe, so I needed to sit somewhere. So I sat in somebody's car. And lo and behold, that person's car was...
It was my car. But let me set like the background so y'all understand. So like after school, like basically like, people sometimes stick around after school or whatever. And I happened to be, my car was like, for some reason I was in the back of the school, like by the gym. And
the bus loop, actually.
The bus loop? Okay, yeah. I guess my homeboy like wanted me to come get him back there or something like that. So I came back there, and next thing you know, I see Trish, and she's over here like kind of cussing him out or whatever. I guess it was something to do about like a phone bill or something like that. And she was like sitting in my car because I had like stepped away from the car. And I just kind of like came back and I was like, who the heck is this girl in my car? Because like I might have seen her before, but I didn't like, we didn't know each other. So It was just like, who is this? Like, and it was just like the fact that they were inside the car. So it was just kind of like, like if you don't know somebody, you're just like, what's going on or whatever. So that's like the first time we ever had any type of encounter. But like we
laid
didn't
eyes on each other.
Yeah, like we didn't like really speak to each other. We didn't like anything like never like happened from that day or whatever. Like high school kept going. We done graduated, and I want to say like
fast forward like
2 years after we graduated.
I came down. I was in St. Louis at the time, and I came down to visit my parents. Like I was in college. And in St. Louis at that time, we had like a different dress code. And it was like almost like a tomboyish dress code with heels, like girly up. Like, I had cargo pants on, I had collared shirt. I like flipped my collar shirt, like doubled it up and flipped the collar up and whatever. And I had my micro braids in, I thought I was doing it. And my friends were like, hey, let's go to a club. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll go to a club because everyone who knows me knows that I'm a lightweight, so I'm not like a big drinker. I would just, pass out and whatever. So we went to this club and I dressed accordingly. Like everyone had their little skimpy dress on, and I had my cargo pants on with my collared shirt, and I thought I was doing it and whatever. And just the style, like Chico might not want to hear this, but had all the dudes running up, like, "Hey, who is this? She's unique. She looks different," you know.
Mm.
So I went in there, and then it was like almost time to go, and the same friend that I was cussing out was like, "Hey, Trish, my friend Chico said what's up," and I'm like, "Who's this Chico?" No one ever came up to me. So then, me and my friend sat in the car, and we were trying to figure out the next place to go. And then one of my friend, Marie, got a phone call, and guess who was on the line? It was Chico.
So,
Chico, go ahead, Dave.
so hold on, cause like I wanted to first say the when I first saw her, so at that nightclub, when I first saw her, it was outside of the club. Before I even walked inside, I happened to just see her standing out there, and she just looked different. Like everybody, I guess, like what she was saying, like everybody's wearing like dresses and like just your typical club clothes or whatever. And she had on like cargo pants and like a collared shirt, and like I kind of like recognized like her like just from like seeing her like just like in passing in high school or whatever. But I was like, dang, this girl stands out right now. Like she looks good. So I seen her, but like I didn't approach her. I didn't say anything. And back then, like the way I was, I kind of like didn't really approach girls unless I knew for sure like there was a connection. So like if you're staring at me and I'm staring at you or something like that, then I know like okay, my chances of like getting your number or something like that are pretty high. So like I didn't really interact with her. Like the night kind of just went on, but afterwards I don't know if I knew like she knew somebody because I the whoever she was with. So I was like, oh, I'm finna go tell this person. Can they like hook me up with her or whatever? But for some reason, like I don't know if maybe I had some alcohol or something that night, but like I done told like three different people the same thing because I was like, oh, I know they know her, so I'm gonna say it to her and her and her, and I guess she's gonna be like, damn, this boy's persistent, you
He
know?
was so persistent. Like as I was saying, I was in the car with Marie, her phone rings, and it's Chico. And he's like, "Yeah, tell your friend I said what's up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I already heard it from someone." And then another phone call comes in from my other friend, Cece, and she was like, "Dang, Chico, we heard you the first time. Okay, we're gonna have her call you." And then Cece brother, the one that I cussed out for the phone bill, called and was like, "Yo, let me speak to Patricia." And I'm like, if this is about him trying to holler at me, like, so he told me that, Chico wants to holler at me or whatever. So then,
It could
did
have
I?
went left or right.
It
Like
could
that
have.
that could have been like, oh, this boy is annoying, but it actually
I thought it was cubic.
yeah. So like, hey, if you want to shoot your shot, just shoot it. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Just you don't know if you're gonna make it or miss it. It all depends. Somebody might go for it, and somebody might not.
So then what? I called you the next day or that night?
Uh, I think you called me the next day when you was at work.
Okay, yeah. And at the time, yeah. Cause okay, so when I came down to visit, I normally stayed for like the whole summer. So I ended up getting me a little summer gig, and it was actually I was a security guard at one of these like mini mansions, like out west somewhere at in the town we lived. And I always picked the overnight shift because it was not a lot of traffic, and then I could have people pull up and hang out. So I did call Chico while I was at work, and I told him to pull up, and he came. He pulled up. We hung out. and whatever. And from then on, I think we made that like a routine. Like I would go and get him those little Hershey pies from Burger King, and he would come to my job, and we would just hang out. Um, yeah, and then
Yeah, it was easy to cause like she worked late at night or whatever, so it's like I kind of just did my thing during the day, and then at night she usually would like call me or whatever when she was at work, so I'd just stop by and go see her, and then that's kind of how we started getting to know each other, and you know, just
building a bond.
yeah, building a bond.
Yeah. So, and then I had a decision to make. Chico and some of his friends were moving to Orlando, and I had a choice: either go back to St. Louis, go back to school, or move to Orlando. And guess what I picked? I'm such an adventurous person, and I'm like, go with the wind. I'm like, hey, let me just try it. So I asked my cousin and my friend at the time, hey, let's move to Orlando. And she's like, yeah, I had that idea because such and such are moving to Orlando too, and it'll be so fun or whatever. So then I told my dad. He was mad, and he was like, "You could have just stayed in St. Louis and finished school, blah blah blah." But you're a persistent person, so you're gonna do what you want. So then he helped me move to Orlando. So then,
So I just want to say, uh, this is where the story, like, I don't know for sure, exactly. I know that I I said I was moving to Orlando. I don't know how much misleading I might have, because at the time when we were in Florida and I was moving to Orlando, I was like, yeah, you should come to Orlando. I probably sold her a big dream because I was like,
big
you know,
dream.
we're gonna be in a relationship. We can like stay together. And that's how I did feel when I was in Florida. The problem was when I got to Orlando, um, my homeboys that were already living up there kind of started taking me out to all these parties and clubs. And then I had people start getting in my head, and there was like, you cannot be in a relationship while you up here.
Mm.
And me being young at the time, by the time she made it to Orlando, because I got up there before her, I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do the relationship thing.
Y'all, he dumped me. Like, well, he just said he can't have a girlfriend while he's in Orlando. And he did it like it's like all his friends knew. We went in the room, we were talking, we were having a conversation, and everyone had this look on their face, and it's like everyone knew what was gonna happen. And then he went in the room and he was like, yeah, I'm in Orlando. I can't be in a relationship in Orlando. And y'all, he broke my little heart. I was like, oh no, he did not make me come all the way from St. Louis to move to Orlando and then just leave me high and dry. So we end up not being in a relationship, but I had to commit. I had to live in Orlando because I dragged my friend and my cousin. So we end up getting an apartment in the hood, and then we had this. I had this job. It was at a vacation club because if you know Orlando for vacations and Disney and whatever. So I had a job. I think it was Marriott Vacation Club where I was selling vacation packages and stuff. So I was there and I was selling vacation packages, and then there was this like guy who kept on being persistent with me, and I gave him a chance. And when me and the guy did not work out, I blamed Chico.
She moved on her whole life or
No, I
whatever.
didn't.
She wasn't complaining when everything was fine, but like all of a sudden, if it's going bad, is I'm gonna blame him for it.
No, I did not move on because I dated the guy to initially make you jealous, but then he wasn't buying because he was out doing him. So he wasn't jealous at all. So yeah, that's what ended up happening.
I
And
I probably was like, oh, she's talking to somebody good, because that way she's not gonna be worried about me at the moment.
listen, I stayed at his house. I was asking our mutual friends. I'm like, what is Chico doing? Where is he at? And stuff like that. What club y'all gonna be at? And then me and my friends would show up. I remember when I found out Plies was Chico's favorite rapper. Me and my friends, we stayed in the room just learning all his lyrics because I'm like, when he see me at the club, I'm gonna rap all Plies' lyrics so he can see that I know. And then Lil Boosie, I was like, I had to learn all these rappers' lyrics just to impress Chico, or just to get him to even look my way or whatever. But we ended up growing past that.
You end up leaving the Orlando area. I was still
Went back to
there,
St. Louis.
and it was like years, a couple years had done passed, but I think like we would talk on the phone
Mm-hmm.
every like, I don't know, maybe like once every 6 months or something like that. So we kind of kept like a little connection
Mm-hmm.
while she was away, but it had been a couple years like where we actually seen each other. And there was another story. I want to say I was in Orlando and I was talking to her again, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna move to Atlanta," and I was convincing her to move to Atlanta. And then my homeboys that I was in Orlando with were like, "Hey, man, we about to go back to Florida." And since I was doing like some business stuff with them, I ended up calling her, and I was like, "Never mind, I'm about to move to Florida." So
Y'all,
that was strike two.
he almost got me again because, like a dummy, I was gonna get up, pick up everything, and move to Atlanta. But thank God I didn't. So from then, I was in St. Louis. I was off college, as he said. We kept in contact with each other. Um, I kind of, sort of, was in a
Not
relationship.
kind of, sorta.
And I didn't tell him, but I still kept like we still talked here or there. The reason why I didn't feel like it was important to tell him because he would just go like ghost me or go disappear. Like, you know, we would have like long breaks in between us, communicating with each other. So I was just like, okay, whatever. I didn't feel like telling him that. So then one of my sister's oldest, like one of my older sister's friends came down, and my sister was like, hey, my little sister's in St. Louis. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go party with them or whatever. So then we went out, and I was introducing him into my friends. And I think one of my friends, I introduced her as, yeah, this is my friend Maddie. She is my ex boyfriend's sister. And then he just shrugged it off like, oh, yeah, you have an ex boyfriend. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Not even an hour later, I get a phone call from Chico cussing me out.
True friends, man. See, the thing is, you just got to be honest, but she wasn't being honest.
It's not that I
I
wasn't being
I was
honest.
always being honest. I always told her straight up.
You did.
Yeah, but you
You
didn't.
did.
But you didn't.
No, you did not. You did
Yes.
not always tell me straight up because
I told you
whenever
exactly. I'm talking to this girl,
you,
or I'm doing this, or
the
I'm doing
lies you
that.
tell, the lies you do not want me to call somebody to bring up receipts. No, you did not.
I feel like I was being honest
No,
and
he did
truthful,
not. So let
even
me
though
tell
like
you.
it might have hurt, but I was being
No,
truthful.
he wasn't. So let me tell you. While I was away, I left Orlando and I went back to St. Louis. My friend was still in Orlando and she was my eyes in the streets. So she would always tell me when he was talking to someone. And he would never tell me. He would just, at the time, I think I was working for like Enterprise Rental Car. And he would like call me and ask me for stuff like, hey, can I borrow your discount to get a rental and this and that. when I first got the job, I gave him my like discount code and my employee number, but then he forgot. So then he was like calling me saying he needed a rental. Then his friends were calling me saying they need a rental. Then I'm just like, what is going on? So then I called my friend at the time. I'm like, what is going on? Why are these boys calling me saying they need rentals? And she told me, oh, they're going to Classics. And that Classics is like a big event that happens like, where is it? In Daytona?
In Orlando.
In Orlando. So it's like where everybody bring out their nice cars, and then it's just like a let out. Like everyone just hangs out and, whatever. So I'm like, oh, right. So you want to use my discount so you can go and pick up girls in the car that I rented you? Oh no, that is not gonna happen.
Nobody said that's what was gonna
So
happen.
so what were you guys going to Classic for? Enlighten me. What were you
We
going to
just
Classic for?
needed a rental car.
Yeah. You're in Orlando, the place where you reside, and you need a rental car.
Yeah, we just needed a rental car.
Yeah, okay. So, I called him and I like told him like, hey, no, like, how are you gonna ask for my discount so you can go pick up chicks? No, that's not gonna happen, or whatever. So then we end up not talking. And then I think at that point where I realized that I needed like to kind of move on, or move, like, because like he's not gonna change, like he's just gonna keep, testing the waters and whatever. So I got into a relationship, and the person I got into a relationship with kind of resembled him, and I think that was like the motive on why I got in a relationship with him, because like, and I think that's how I interact with him. I'm like, hey, you remind me of my ex because you kind of resemble him or whatever. But like, I just thought Chico was just in Orlando doing him, or wherever he was at, just doing him. So I didn't think I needed to tell. But then when my sister's friend came and snitched on me, he was my ex at the time. Snitched on me and said that, oh hey, I was hanging out with her ex sister in law or whatever. Um, I don't know. I guess it struck the nerve in Chico where he had to tell me some unkind words.
So yeah, I don't know. I felt like I was always being truthful, but she doesn't see it that way.
No, he wasn't. Because I would
So
always find out.
so how did we go from you being up there to like how did we get to the next step?
So from then on, like, he was mad at me, and I was like, you know what? I could have told him I was in a relationship, but I did not. So I would just, when my relationship ended or whatever, I was just like, soul searching, and I was just like, I need to leave St. Louis. Like, St. Louis is not for me. It's too. Don't get me wrong, I love St. Louis, but it's just not. It was just not fitting for me at the time. So I was like, I need to get out. I need to get out. I don't want to go back to the city where we live. I don't want to go back to Orlando. What should I do? And I was like I was like my sophomore year in college, and I was just like, I'm so over it. I just want to leave. I applied to be a flight attendant, and to get that job, it's like it was destined. Went to the interview. The guy, he wanted to hire me, but I had visible tattoos, and he was like, "Well, you're gonna have to get that removed. Can't hire you with visible tattoos." And it wasn't visible, y'all. I just showed him it, but it wasn't really visible. So then I went because I really wanted to go through the experience. So I went and tried to get it removed. I had my first procedure, and then I texted the guy. I emailed him a picture of me getting it removed, and then he came back, and then he told me, do the interview. It was not even an interview. It was just like, come back and sign these papers. You're hired. So I was working for a small carrier, and the last day, and need I remind you, every holiday, every month, I would call and check up on Chico, but he wouldn't respond because he was still mad. But while he was upset, he was entertaining other people or another person, and um, that person would kind of like make it known that she's talking to Chico, but I was just like, okay, girl, whatever. Um, so it was my last week of flight school, and it was the last day, and I was graduating.
Hold on, let me explain before you say this part. So at the time, I had end up going to the hospital um, due to like I guess I like was eating late at night or whatever, and it like I don't know, just wasn't sitting well with me. So I ended up going to the hospital, and while I was in the hospital, I don't know, God just came to me, and I was just starting to have realizations, and I was like, all of these girls I'm chasing around, like, what is it doing for me? This and that. I was like, what if the one that I should be with has been in front of me the whole time? And I don't know, something just clicked, and I just decided to return a phone call for once, and it just happened to be on what the day that
I was
before
graduating.
you were graduating, or the day before
And actually, that day,
that day.
in the morning, I was like getting ready, and I looked down at my phone, and I was like, "He's calling," and I was like, "Okay, play cool, act nonchalant." I was like, "Hey, what's up, Melda? How you been? How you feeling? Heard you were in the hospital," and he was like just telling me what was going on and whatever. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I never picked up. I didn't know the number or whatever." I guess he was so mad at me that he deleted my number, so he did not know.
I think
Um,
I thought it was like telemarketers or something calling me.
so he did not. He said he did not know the number, so he didn't pick up or whatever. So he finally returned my call. And then he was like, he asked the words like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I am actually getting ready because I'm graduating um, flight attendant school." And he was like, "What? Flight attendant school? That's so cool," and whatever and stuff like that. And then I think he asked me where I'm going to be based, and I was like, "Oh, well, they're basing all of us in Chicago and whatever, so I'm gonna be in Chicago and whatever." So then we kind of stayed in touch and whatever, and then like we were back on good terms, but we weren't back to where we were because he was still entertaining other people. Um, so
So
then,
I asked her. I think we end up having a conversation,
mhm.
and I I don't know. Third time I said something about moving again, but this time I expressed to her that I was gonna be serious. I wasn't gonna play around. But it's like you gotta know when you're ready, right? So it's like I probably wasn't ready all them other times, but then like I knew when I was ready. So I was expressing to her, I'm gonna be serious, but in her eyes, she's probably like, oh, he's just saying something again or whatever. So I don't know how, but I convinced her to move down south to Miami, and I think she had a bunch of ultimatums for me because I was living at my mom's house at the time, and she was like,
Hold on.
okay,
Okay, so from Chicago,
mm-hmm,
I put in my transfer to go to LA,
mm-hmm.
and he asked me, "Oh, so where are you gonna be based now?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to LA. I'm gonna be, Valley girl. I'm be in LA, living my best life and whatever." And he said, "Oh no, I think you should move to Miami." I said, "Why?" So you can tell me, so you can make me move and tell me, "Oh, we can't be together." Like, no, I'm not doing that. And then I went to, so then my friend and I, Mo Money, Mo Better, Mo Best. We just put in our transfer and we just moved to Miami. Um, so in the midst of us looking for places and stuff like that, I found a place, and I was gonna turn it into this thing called like a crash pad where there was like flight attendants that all live in one apartment and they have bunk beds and stuff like that. But Mo already put her transfer in to go to New York, so she was over Miami. So then I told the ultimatums that he's talking about was I told him like, okay, I'm here, we got the place. um, come over, like, let's live together or whatever. Because you told me if I move down here, we can be together. Oh, I need to fast forward. I need to rewind because I need to tell you the story that almost ended us when I got there.
What's that?
So, so I got there. They normally give you like 5-day moving days, and my brother came down from Kansas City to visit, and he was at a hotel, and it was my sister and my niece and Chico. We were um, we were what were we riding around doing? We were riding around doing something. I don't know what we were doing, but we were riding around doing something. So he was in the back seat with my niece, and my niece was torturing him because Chico had this like his signature beard style where he had only hair on his chin, and my
She
niece
kept pulling on it
she
over
kept
and
on
over and over.
pulling on it and twirling on it and whatever. But I forgot where we were going. So then we were like, okay, we're gonna stop by this hotel to see my brother. So I asked him, I said, hey, what should I introduce you as? And then he's like, I don't know, just say I'm your friend.
There's a reason why I said that though. She said, "Oh, my brother don't be playing that, this and that or whatever." I took it as in like, "Oh, your brother doesn't want you to be in relationships." So,
I was
I
past
was
21.
like, "Oh, just introduce me as a friend." But I guess what she was saying was like she didn't want to introduce me as a friend because her brother like is like, who is this, like he's more serious, like as far as like this person you're with, are you in a relationship with them? But I took it a different way, so I was like, introduce me as a friend. But I guess that's not what she wanted to hear. And
My sister and I just looked at each other and we were like, oh, no, he didn't. So that night, we all went over to my sister's condo and we were having, I think it was Thanksgiving. We were having Thanksgiving, and my nieces had like a very long hair, so it took like all four of us to braid their hair. So we were doing that. So we were caught up doing that. And he just kept on calling. And I'm a type of person, if you know me, you know I'm never near my phone. Like, my phone's always far. You may be calling me and you will not get a hold of me because I'm never near my phone. So my sister kept on picking up and she was like, she's busy. I'll tell her to call you. And I never knew he was calling. He called about like 6 or 7 times that night. Never returned his call because
I knew she was upset
I
because
knew.
I figured, I'm like, okay, I don't know what she's upset about. I wasn't putting two and two together, but I knew she was upset. So I was like, let me be persistent again and kept calling her or whatever. But I don't know. It took a while before she ended up coming on the phone.
Yeah, I think it was like the next day.
Yeah.
But then you weren't getting it and whatever, and I think I like had to show you a lesson. So I went to New York. I flew to New York with my sister, and then we went on like a mini vacation and whatever. I was picking up random guys off the street. I was like, hey, you want to take a picture with me just so I can post it on Facebook so he can see that, like, I got it like that. I can get whatever. Um, so then we ended up coming back, and he was like, "Oh, you're out in New York entertaining guys and whatever." I think at a point I got mad, and when they would like ask me for my number, I would give his number, and he had like all these guys just calling his phone.
I would hate that. Like, that's so annoying.
Yeah. So then, when he finally like realized that I was upset that he was considering me a friend after you told me to move down. You said we're gonna be together. So and he was like, okay, I'm serious. We're gonna be together. And I'm like, and you're gonna tell all your friends I'm your girlfriend, right? And he's like, yes. I'm like, and you're gonna get all your stuff from your mom's house, and you're gonna move into this apartment that you made me get, saying we're gonna live together and we're gonna be together. And he's like, yeah. And I think he had left like 3 or 4 items at his mom's house, and then we went to go visit. And he was showing me his old room, and I seen those 3 or 4 items. I was like, "You better get all those
She
clothes and
didn't
bring
want
it
me
to
to
him."
leave
I was like,
anything.
"You're not leaving anything. We're moving in together. You're gonna be." So we ended up doing that, and what I think we were like laying in bed, just it was just so random. If you know Chico, you know him for being the most randomest guy, like just saying the off the wall random stuff. So we just laying in bed, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna marry you one day," and I'm just like, "That was random." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Just like you told me to move to Orlando, you told me to move to Atlanta, and you told me to move to Miami. Sure, I'll see it when I believe it. So that the next day was church, and we went to church, and we went to church with my oldest sister, and the pastor was preaching, he was saying stuff, and I'm just like, focused on what he's saying, and he's like, I just see him out of my peripheral vision just looking at me. He's like, yeah, I'm serious. I was serious about that conversation. And I'm like, okay, Domingo, I will see it when I believe it.
I said, I'm here in front of the Lord. I'm in church. I'm going to say it once again. See, like I said, if I'm ready to do something, then I know I'm ready. And I was like, I'm in front of God. I'm going to say it again. And then I told her again. I was like, all of this, like, it wasn't planned. It was just like something that just popped up in my head, like, spontaneously. And we left church.
Yeah, and then that Sunday was my dad's church anniversaries party. But before we went there, we went to your mom's house.
Yeah, and I told my mom, I was like, I'm planning on getting married. And she was like, good, that's a good thing. Our parents, they're old school. Like they enjoy like relationships and marriage and things like that. So they encouraged me to do it. And from there we went to go visit
my dad, and then I was in the car talking to my mom. Like, we parked the car way in the back of the church. So I was talking to my mom, and then I'm like looking, I don't see him, and I don't see my dad. I'm like, dang, where they went? So then I'm looking, and I see them like circling the church lot, just talking. I'm like, what in the heck are they talking about? And then they're just walking, and whatever, and stuff like that. And then I see my dad shakes his hands and whatever. And then he walked up to my mom. I kid you not, my dad didn't say anything. He just gave my mom a head nod, and she already knew what was up. I'm the only one that did not know what was going on. So then the next day was Monday, and he was like, "Yeah, we gotta go get stuff done, get dressed and whatever." So I'm getting dressed and whatever, and then I see we go back to the from Miami. We drive down south, down not south, but
north.
No, we drive up north to like the city where my dad lives, and we're at the courthouse, and I'm like, "What are we doing at the courthouse?" And then I see my old friend at the time, my old friend at the time, and my dad's there and whatever. And then we're just there. We're at the courthouse. It's like, yeah, we're getting married, and I'm just like, I felt like everything was a dream. And then I'm just like all smiles. And I'm like, are you serious? This is really happening, and whatever.
No preparation, no nothing. It was just all, like I said, I don't know. It wasn't like something like normally when you get married, you plan it out for like way months in advance, and you're like, oh, this is what I plan on doing. This was like all. It's kind of like if you go to Vegas and you just be like, you know what, let's get married. Like it was like something like that.
Yeah. So we're at the courthouse, and then my dad and my friend at the time is a witness and whatever, and then we're done, and then my dad takes us to the mall, and then he's like, "Hey, pick out the ring. It's on me." And this is like no preparation. We're just like, we're just like just doing it. So we just like picked out a random ring or whatever, and we didn't tell anyone, like any of our friends.
Well, I told one person.
Who did you tell?
I told Fagin.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So Fagin knew, but like everyone else, they just thought we were like boyfriend and girlfriend. Like they just thought we were in a relationship.
Yeah.
And the whole entire time we were married.
We were secretly married.
We were secretly married. So,
we did plan then to have a wedding like a year later, but nobody knew we were already married.
Right.
So.
And then we, in the planning, we kind of slipped up, and I got pregnant.
Yeah.
So we already paid for the wedding and everything, and I was just like, we're just gonna have to go through with it. Y'all, I never wanted a wedding to be so over with. I was literally barefoot and pregnant. Like, the reception, I think I was just waiting. I took off my shoes, and I was just like, yeah, I'm ready. I had, like, spaghetti sauce on my dress because I was so hungry. I don't know. Like, it was a cute little wedding.
But she wasn't satisfied with it because she was pregnant. So guess what?
Well, we had a when we hit our 5 years, we had a I still do wedding. So like a vow renewal. So we had a vow renewal.
She called it a vow renewal, but I call it a do-over for the first wedding.
Listen, it was a vow renewal, and I went all out. I upgraded my ring, upgraded my dress, like, oh, and he proposed to me, like, because I was like, I never got proposed to.
Yeah, everything was just backwards.
Right.
But it doesn't matter how your story is as long as it works for you.
Yeah.
So, and in the meantime, we did have 2 kids at the time, by the time the second wedding came around.
Right.
And we do have a third child now.
Right.
But yeah.
And we have a dog, y'all. We have a dog. He's our newest baby.
So we've been married now 11 years.
11 years. Can you believe it?
Like, your story, it might sound crazy, but you never know how it's going to end up. So, like, it's your love story. It's not anybody else's. So something might sound like it's crazy. It might be like, why you keep going back to this dude, or why you keep going back to this girl? But you never know. Sometimes that's God pulling at you, and he's saying, this is the one for you. So I didn't think, and I'm pretty sure she didn't think,
I never thought
that we would end up where we at now. But it just happened to work. And like, there's always going to be ups and downs, and that's why we always talk and communicate with each other. But it's 11 years now, and we're still going strong, and we plan on, keeping this thing going.
For lifers. If someone would have told me that back then that it would have been Chico and Trish, I would have been like, you bugging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like we said, in order for you to grow with us in the podcast, we might as well tell you how we met, our love story, just so you have a little background and a little understanding of, who we are and, how our love story is. So hopefully throughout this journey, we're able to encourage you and give you some insight on, different things that, how our experiences and how we feel like, our point of view might be able to help you. So
yeah, and you guys stay tuned for more exciting episodes and more exciting guests. Trust me, you guys, it's funny and it's gonna be hot and interesting. So you're gonna learn the different topics and the different things that we go through, and we talk about how each other as individuals feel about it. So stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for 48 episodes, y'all. 48. We're going to try to drag this out for the year. So now we got 47 left to go.
So if you like it, just encourage us to keep going. And we'll continue to, give you the content. So just thank you for listening to this episode
of Bend Don't Break.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Bend Don't Break.
And you can follow us on our Instagram page and YouTube channel at Bend Don't Break the Podcast.
The contents of this podcast is not responsible for any bent or broken relationships. The purpose is just to share individual perspectives of different topics.